What's going on, everybody? This is Sean from Room 9 Podcast. Gonna introduce episode 13 coming at you, but first, a little word from our sponsors. The Room 9 Podcast is brought to you by New Buffalo Designs, run by a woman by the name of Christina Farasi. She's a music teacher, and she does these burnt wood carving. If you are on our website at all, you may see a picture, or it's Room 9 Podcast Facebook page, profile photo. She burnt that, and it says Room 9 Podcast on there, and you can find her on Instagram at New Buffalo Designs. You can check out all her photos. She's also on Facebook, which is New Buffalo Designs, and you can see all the things that she has going. She is getting up and running slowly but surely, and she does beautiful work, so be sure to check her out. Room 9 is also brought to you by Indie Threads, which is run by a man that I was at Horizon Village with, the name of James Leary. Clothing for the Free Spirit. He has all portions of his proceeds go to help save the Michaels in the opiate crisis, which I think is a beautifully, amazingly awesome thing that he does with that, which is pretty damn cool. A lot of our photos that we do, he has taken. If you look at our Instagram page, which is Room 9 Podcast, a lot of our photos that we do our quotes with and share some stories with, he has taken. So be sure to check those out. And we are brought to you finally by the one and only Upper Story Studios, ran by my very, very good friend David Riffle, who once again, he helps us with so much equipment. He actually, the other day for this episode that's coming up, he drove all the way from Niagara Falls in a snowstorm to drop it off to me so I could use it to record with the three of us, which you will be enjoying coming up very shortly here. And he is at upperstorystudios.com. You can find him on Facebook, Upper Story Studios, Instagram, Upper Story Studios. I believe there's a YouTube, Upper Story Studios. So be sure to check him out. He does photography, videography, music, and all sorts of good stuff like that. And finally, episode 13 of the Room 9 Podcast. I am pumped up about this one, guys. I sit down with an amazingly beautiful, strong couple, Jackie and Paul Thompson, and their son passed away from an overdose not too long ago, and the courage that they have, the vulnerability that they show is just amazing. You guys will be nothing but encouraged. It's an emotional episode. It's a beautiful episode. There's so much to be heard, so much to learn, especially if you are a parent or a family member that has a loved one that is struggling with addiction. You're really going to want to listen to this one. It's amazing. And I need not to say any more, so I hope you enjoy it. Get on our website, room9podcast.com. Check us out on Facebook. Check our blog out on the website. Please check that out. That is becoming a regular thing here, and I've gotten nothing but good feedback on that. Bear with us with the website, too. We have I have some issues going on with it, but I need to learn to be content with the way it is for now, but I keep changing it up. I want it to be better. But just get on there, check us out. If you see any issues with the website, please send us a message about it. Hope you enjoy this episode, and take care. Later. I actually applied to Save the Michaels yesterday for their driving thing. Part-time driver.
Oh, good.
So I'm hoping, I would love to do that part-time. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But
I'll let you know. That's what I do all the time.
Do you? Yeah. Yeah, I would love to do that. So.
Oh my gosh, good for you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, again, there's so many. I feel like that's a very huge part of somebody. For me, I remember going there from Buffalo to Orangeburg. I went out to Orangeburg, New York, and I just remember the conversations. That's huge to make somebody feel comfortable and just like, all right, it's going to be good, and just give them some encouragement somewhere. I feel like that could be a huge difference in somebody's life.
It's almost like a therapy session for the kids we take and for me.
Yeah.
And other people there's a couple of us that just volunteer and do it.
Okay.
And, specifically myself and another guy, and he lost his son too.
Okay.
And both of us feel it's therapeutic just to talk to these kids.
I'm trying to think of the two gentlemen who drove me.
When did you go to Blaisdell?
I went to Blaisdell. That would have been, I got arrested April 12th. I got out May 24th. I went up there. And I'm trying to think of the two.
It could have been
two gentlemen.
Older gentlemen?
Yeah, they were two older
It
gentlemen.
was probably Avi and Jim.
I know it wasn't Avi.
No, because
No.
I know we didn't really start transporting until April last year. And they
Okay,
didn't
so I
start
was
going
right
to-
around there. Okay.
Yeah, and the first few that went to Blaisdell or Ward in Middletown
Jim.
would have been Jim and
Joe? Was there a Joe?
no, there was only a couple of us that did it way back then because that's when it first started off.
Yeah, he was a shorter guy, kind of nerdy, with glasses.
Mike?
No,
And
Mike
they-
wasn't involved in. It could have been Jim, and I don't know who else it would have been.
Yeah.
because there was only a couple of us back then
That
did
were
it.
doing it.
Yeah.
But I remember, when I first met Janet, right outside the courtroom there when I got released, and she was she's amazing. She's so awesome.
She's an angel. She's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is an awesome individual.
Yeah, she really.
You
is.
just her energy, the brightness she just kind of had in her, almost like she knew you for your whole life and
Yeah.
cared about you that much that she like you were one of her kids and.
I would have to, do a transport, and I would go. Oh, we'd go to the court. They open at 9:30, so we get there a little after 9, and I'd go in the office at 7:30 just so I have a chance to sit down with Janet and talk. It's almost a little session with her
Therapeutic,
myself.
yeah.
In the morning. Yeah, it's just she's great.
Yeah, she stopped by here. I think it was last week. She posted something about if anybody had an extra NA book, and
Oh yeah.
I had an extra one, so she came by, untouched actually, the extra one I had, and she came by and grabbed it. But it's just awesome, always seeing her.
Yeah, she's great.
She's excited. She knows we're here today.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
she
told her
knows.
too the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she asked me yesterday. She goes, "When are you doing, your podcast with Sean?" And so I told her tomorrow morning. She goes, "Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great." So
Yeah, I'm
she
glad.
loves you. I mean, she.
Yeah.
She just she. Yeah. So,
Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
in fact, so I wish, when Paul was going through, when he was in recovery, I think Janet had just started at Save the Michaels, right?
no, it wasn't. No, she. I don't
Was
know
she
exactly
there?
when she started, but yeah, he wasn't involved with anything in Save the Michaels.
Save the
when Janet worked
Michaels.
there.
So I look back on that now, and that would have been good, for him in his recovery. But you can't look back, and the what ifs.
Ooh, the what if trap is.
and it happens.
Is no fun.
It's it happens.
It is. I remember. Oh my gosh, it took me forever because my brother and sister died when I was 15, and I remember. I mean, I played that what if game for at least a decade or so,
I'm sorry.
and I remember doing that. But was he a junior? Was it Paul Jr.?
No. Same first name.
First
but
name, just different middle name.
Excuse me, different middle names. yeah.
Okay. And he now, how old was he now when he passed away?
31.
31.
31?
Yeah. Passed away at 31 in September, and he would have turned 32 in November.
Okay.
So he was almost 32, but yeah.
So he was right around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of just like in and out rehabs, or how did how did the story start, pretty much?
Well, the typical, went to a doctor, had back pain, prescribed pills, opiates. And, when it started, I don't know for sure. We always had our suspicions, that things weren't going well with him and something was up. He was taking pills, but we missed all the signs. I think we really didn't know. So I don't know, timeline. I don't think we could go back and say a specific date.
Yeah, I guess you never can.
Yeah.
Right.
But when we found out that he was having trouble, he was in the Navy. He was stationed
Okay.
out in California. And he called me and said that he had some problems, he had issues, and he was addicted to pills. And they sent him to rehab out in California.
The military did?
Military did,
Okay.
yeah. Long story short, he went through that. Because of that, he got discharged, came home in June of 2016,
Yes.
and was doing fine, we thought. But then we noticed things again towards the end of that year, and he moved out, on his own with some friends, and it was the day before New Year's of 2016. he came home and he shot up in his bedroom.
Okay.
And that's when we were like, holy, what's going on? We had no clue.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, even with my parents, it's almost like you don't want to see the signs when they happen. You look back and you're like, how did I miss those? How did I not see those? And I think as a parent, you just don't want to see them. You don't sometimes want to admit it, that it's happening. You almost just want to throw it aside. And I think especially for my parents, the biggest thing was, again, losing 2 children. And my mom always said, like, because Christine my girlfriend, ended up calling the cops on me. You know, at one point when I got arrested, that's how I got arrested. And she was on the phone with my mom, and my mom was like, I can't do it. You have to do it. I can't. And I think as a parent, it's so
hard.
It's so difficult. And I have 2 kids, and I got a divorce, and I felt guilty because I told my ex-wife, I didn't want to be married. This was a mistake. Like, I shouldn't be miserable around you. And I met her in Florida, but we were living in Buffalo at the time, and I felt so guilty for breaking her heart the way I did. And she had no family up here, so I let her leave. And like just having that loss of my kids, they're still here physically. I can talk to them. I can Skype with them. I get to see them, 6-8 weeks out of the year still. How difficult that was. I had the utmost respect for my parents after that. How painful that was for me, and my kids are still here physically. And so, I mean, even for you guys, having kids be away from me and how difficult that is. The loss of a child there's no comparison compared to, I mean, I lost my brother and sister, which was extremely difficult at the age of 15, but for my parents, I always look at it like completely different. Like I have trouble telling my father, to stop drinking. How do you tell a man who buried 2 of his children to stop drinking?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tough.
It's hard, and child loss, and you're right. I've said this, I lost both my parents. They both passed away. Your dad, but losing a child, that's it's different, and it's your heart. It just rips your heart right out of you, and it's what do we say about grief? Like my brother, who's 18 years older than me and lives in Florida, very worried about me, but would say,
He said you should go away and just to get
try to forget about it,
or
try to, and innocently, not malice, but it's with you every minute, every second of every day, and. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. So your parents losing 2, and Paul's sister. We have our daughter.
And how old is she?
She just turned 30.
Okay.
Yeah, 30 in November, and she was very supportive. And they were very close, and I know she misses him deeply. But I don't know where I was going with that. I completely lost. This happens to me quite a bit.
That is quite all right.
But where was I going with that? Oh, losing her brother is hard for her. Very, very hard. And I think sometimes, I know I personally, I have tendencies of feeling guilty because he's gone. He's not there for her. And I think they had their own little language. They had their own little friendship, and she supported him through his
recovery,
his recovery and addiction, and tried to help so much. But
it is, as I always say, because the cliche say time heals all wounds, which is obviously a bunch of crap. But you learn how to, I think, time, if you allow it to, helps you to learn how to have that pain coexist with joy and happiness and in love and all those other things that are a big part of life as well. But that pain, is always there.
Yeah, I would say that life goes on, but now it's different.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. And I see, and you guys are extremely strong, because I can't imagine the strength that it takes to bury a child is unbelievable. And I feel that, the first time I met you guys on the Daily Planet Cafe, you can just feel your guys' strength. And by strength, I mean, I always say that to people because what is strength? People always think that stereotypical, I'm a man and I don't show any weakness, but on the contrary, I think strength is being able to show weakness and share and be just as much, in that pain and allow everybody to see that. That takes real strength. And I totally commend you guys and so much respect for you guys for just what you guys do, sharing your story and helping other parents. And
thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
And being there. It's amazing. Yeah.
We had, we go to a parent grief support group, with Save the Michaels. And I remember one night we went up there and one of the women that was there asked me, she said, how do fathers take this? How do men cry? I says, yeah, of course we do. Yeah. It's not a weakness. It's just, you're sad and it just comes out.
Yeah. I've said that to some, I remember, I would say, with my brother and sister, it's like the time that I really felt like I was finally dealing with it and starting to live with it. It was probably, 10 years after when I was 25, 26. But I just wept for days. I remember just weeping for that gut wrench, just eyes, snot, the whole works, coming down. But just for like 2 or 3 days, it just kept happening in random parts of the day, just this deep weeping. But it's such a beautiful thing. I remember learning at that time, like, I have to learn to cry more. Mm-hmm. Like, I have to learn how to do this and process things. And it's such a beautiful release of like this weight of this heaviness that's on you. And the first time I realized that, I remember I was laughing with my buddy the one time. I'm sure we were under the influence of something, but that's besides the point. But I remember laughing with him and having the same thing, that crying, or, the tears coming down and the snot and my gut hurts and my cheeks hurt. And I'm like, what the heck? But that lightness afterwards that you feel after a deep laugh it's for different reasons, but weeping does the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really connected, how beautiful it is. And especially as a man, when a lot of society says not to do it, I think it takes so much more strength and courage to be able to be like, yeah, I'm good to sit here and cry.
Yeah. I mean, I have emotions. You can bottle them up, but that's not going to help.
No, we all know where that leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But so Paul was... So when did he go to his first rehab? He was out in California.
California, yeah. And the Navy sent him. It was supposed to be a military rehab, but...
They sent him somewhere else?
Yeah, the military rehab was full. So, I mean, there was issues everywhere.
That's a problem everywhere in this country, huh?
Yeah, so they sent him to a private facility. And I went out there for about a week and stayed with him and, just to see how things were going.
And how old was he at this time?
He was...
2011, 2012, maybe 20...
No, it was 29. 29,
okay. And so you went out there...
Yeah, it was...
Kind of just help him, support him?
Yeah, just, to support. I mean, right away, you want to support him. And not to say it didn't work, because rehabs aren't like that. One works, one doesn't. But it didn't... I don't think he got a lot out of it. Mm-hmm. Very clinical type place.
Okay.
And after he went back in the Navy, of course, I came back home. He went back to the base. And we didn't know a lot what was going on. And he called again and said that he self-admitted himself to his commanding officer because he said he took pills again. Now that we look back at it, and I've had to look through Freedom of Information Acts to find out everything that was going on, I think he was injecting even back then. Mm. So I think that's what happened. Then he got released or discharged. So he came home, and like I said, up until that day before New Year's Eve, we really didn't know what was going on. So when he did overdose in his bedroom that night, along with that were the legal issues, so we had to go through the courts and things like that. We were trying to get him into somewhere. He was calling every morning, and it was the typical, no open beds, no, call back tomorrow, next week, whatever. It was just constant delays. And we didn't check in. I didn't know. What do we do? We had no clue what to do.
How can we move this along faster?
Yeah.
Right? When you're ready, you're ready. And when you need help, you need help. You can't wait.
And for an addict to sit for 3 days. And I mean, I always say addiction is literally, it's this other, I always think, I don't know if you know the comic book character Venom.
No.
But they're like, so basically it's like this alien life form that gets attached to him, the comic book guy. And my point being is, like, it always talked to the person as if it was something else, a different, it's like a symbiotic relationship almost. And I always felt like that is always like analogous to me to addiction. Like, I've just this voice saying, come on, you can just try this one more, or you can have one beer. It's just always trying to con you. It's this other voice. And when an addict has time, I'm going to go, yes, I'll go to rehab. I'll go to rehab. Okay, we can get you in 3 days. I mean, to sit there and your addiction has so much time to tell you, dude, you don't need this anymore. You're fine.
Oh, yeah.
You can control it. And it's such a big issue. I mean, I think everywhere in the country.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to go. He said he wanted to go to rehab, but we also had this court case over our heads. And we're calling in the morning, anywhere we can in Western New York. And they're saying, no, call back tomorrow. So in the meantime, he's out in the garage, and he's using.
And that's the other thing. We weren't helping him because I know I personally was watching. Like, I was watching everything.
That he did.
To the point of, one night, and we didn't talk about thick, but we didn't really catch on. A couple nights we have a Tim Hortons right at the corner, Delaware, Sheridan, whatever. And quite a few times, I'm just going to go out for a walk. I'm going to go up to Tim Hortons. Okay. Until a couple of times we noticed, he'd come home from Tim Hortons. He left one way and then came home back with a totally different look. And so my point being is, a couple of times I said to him, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go for a walk with you to Tim Hortons. Well, you can imagine that. I mean, poor guy, he's 30 years old. One night we went out there, it was cold out, and he was tall, and he's walking ahead of me. I'm like, Paul, I can't keep up with you. I know, Mom, come on, and we walked around the block. I knew he was headed somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But it's things like that you become obsessed with, while he's waiting for rehab to open, or he's waiting for his next appointment, we're like watching his every move, which was not healthy for his not healthy for him. But
like almost smothering, trying to dictate his moves,
everything that he's doing.
Yeah, and we're watching everything he's doing, and saying, well, don't go there, don't do that, don't. And
so for people who are going to listen to this and have kids, or even, whatever, cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever it is, what do you think, now looking back, how would you have dealt with that differently? Is there something you can do differently in that case?
Well, I'd like to think that things are a little better now about getting in to rehab, finding an open bed.
I think Save the Michaels has a lot to do with that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like within a day, you can get somebody in. Back then, we waited, it was almost a month. And it was just by chance that we got him into White Deer Run, just by happening to walk past somebody at the courthouse. And she said, "Oh, how are you doing? I haven't seen you since 3 weeks ago." And I said, "Yeah, we're waiting, trying to get a bed." And she goes, "I can get you in tomorrow." And boom, he went.
Wow. So
fortunately, that's how we got in. But in the meantime, I don't know what the answer is. One thing I do know now is to look back is, you don't want to just let them go and use, but maybe just not smother them so much. And I think we got angry with them, arguing, and I'm trying to think of the word here.
The one night before
guilt.
Guilt.
We laid a guilt trip on him. Like, you're doing this to us. I can't believe after all we've done for you. And now I look back at that, and then I mean, I feel like a real jerk for doing that. It was terrible to do that to him. Knowing now he was sick. He was sick. He wasn't doing this to us on purpose. So that's, I think, something to look back on and say, you can't lay a guilt trip on him. And I don't think we recognized it back then as a disease.
Way back.
And that's a big difference too.
Yeah. Now I could see that. And he needed help. And we were trying to help him, but we were also fighting and arguing, and that didn't help. That didn't help the situation at all.
That almost tends, to push away more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He'd come in the house and you could tell, he'd been using. And, I'd tell Paul, look at your face, you're using. He'd, no, I'm not.
Deny.
And boom, it would turn into an argument about it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a little more compassion for him. And to answer your question, I guess, I don't know what else we could have done except just trying to get him into rehab, into some type of treatment sooner, as soon as possible.
Just to keep pushing for that.
Keep calling. Like I said, I wish we would have known more about Save the Michaels when he was going through active addiction.
Back then, yeah.
So maybe calling there, or because we did go to a lot of educational forums and things put on by Save the Michaels. It really helped us out quite a bit with healthy boundaries and things like that. But I don't know if there's one thing I can think of other than like what you talked about before, making sure we're not smothering him. And I remember one time, this is before he overdosed in December of 2016. I think it was in October or November. I remember, I don't know, got his hands on a credit card or something like that. We saw these charges. We didn't know what the charges were, and he denied it. He denied until we got the bill and put one in, put the pieces together. And I remember calling him in the evening because he was living in Buffalo at that point. And Paul, how could you do that? How we're here for you. You don't have to lie. You don't have to lie to us. And he was upset. Mom, I don't want to lie. I don't know why I'm lying. It takes over. So, and it's true. I mean, he was just hijacked by the drugs and by the disease, and just wish we knew more earlier on.
Yeah.
So.
And that's huge. It's huge to have yourself educated, because it does. It makes a difference, all the difference in the world,
Right.
on how to do that. And the lying is just something, obviously, that's very familiar to me. And in that song that I have, that I wrote, one of the simple lines in one of the songs, because when I wrote that song, it was really just a reflection of my darkest point of addiction. And the song title, I named it Forlorn. So you can, obviously, it's a very dark song. But look what happens when you don't give up pride was one of my lines. And I just remember Christine crying in front of me. What's wrong? What can I do to help you? Like, what is going on? Nothing. I'm fine. What are you talking about? I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. And just swearing, I mean, to the point where you almost believe it yourself. Yeah. And it's obvious something's wrong.
Sounds so familiar because, he I think he was talking himself into that everything's fine. Nothing's wrong.
You do. I mean, that's what makes a good liar,
mm-hmm.
is you 100% believe it yourself. And, it's amazing how you just, lie. I don't even know why I'm lying. Why am I lying about this?
Yeah.
I mean, I went and stole this. It was me. I know it was me, but I'm still going to sit here and lie about it. Like, you've done that so many times. It is unbelievable what addiction can cause you to do.
Right. And I remember before the overdose in December, when we first saw the needles and the heroin and all that. And I remember he had come home. He was out somewhere, and he came home, and he stood in the middle of the family room with us. He had gone to Jake's house.
That was in January.
Oh, it was?
Mm-hmm.
My time gets all screwed up.
It's
with
tough.
Stuff. But he, just standing there and looking at us and saying, it's got me. This has got me. I need help. I mean, he knew then. I don't know where I was going with this either. All these things come popping back into my mind, but
that was during that month-long period
we're
to find a bed.
Okay.
We knew he had an issue with drugs. We didn't know what to do, and he was still using, and we were lost. So
he went out one night. Yeah. We were trying to keep him in the house.
Yeah, that's the thing we were trying to do. Keep him in the house. Don't let him get out. He's a 30-year-old man.
How are you gonna? How are you going to?
Yeah.
So,
I think my parents came to the point, and I don't know. I don't know if they would have kicked me out as much as I was stealing, again, I think it comes back to losing 2 children. I don't know if my mom would have been able to do it.
Right.
But, I mean, they were done giving me any money. Obviously, they weren't leaving anything around for me to take anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They were done giving me rides. I mean, they wouldn't give me a penny for the bus anymore to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it came down to that. I don't know if they would have been able to kick me out, but it is hard. Like, I'm 32 years old at the time. Growing man, in air quotes. At least age-wise, not really acting like it. But, what are you going to do? I mean, you're not going to stop me. My father's not going to stop me. You're going to fight me. I mean, you're not going to do any of that. So it comes... But you want to stay in the house. You want him in the house. All right, I want to keep an eye, and I know where he is. And...
Yeah, like if we watch you, you're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was still using right under our noses.
It does. And, I remember, and I'm sure you guys will agree with the same thing. I've heard it said so many times. My mom talked about the relief of when I was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
That relief of, I can, like she said, that was the first good night's sleep as best as she could had in a long time because she knew she didn't have to worry about the phone ringing. She didn't have to worry about, me getting arrested anymore. I'm there. I'm in jail. I can't go anywhere, and I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
When he got into White Deer Run at the end of January, we were going to a family counselor, and when he went in, the family counselor told us, he goes, "Okay, now you're on vacation. You've got a break now." Short-lived. It was only 28 days, but it was, at least we knew he was safe.
Mm-hmm.
And we went there for a weekend. We had a family, like they had a family group there.
Oh, nice.
It was
That's
good,
nice.
and he seemed to be doing so well there.
Well, that's where we really started getting more educated ourselves.
Okay.
I think they put on a decent program for the parents, explaining things, explaining addiction, and we kind of got the idea of what's going on. And that's where we were introduced to Nar-Anon. So we came home from there and looked up first Nar-Anon group,
here.
Yeah.
And we started going. And that's when Jackie said before, he was taking care of his recovery. We started on our recovery too. And by the time he came home from White Deer Run, I mean, by no means were we experts. But we know a little bit more what was going on. We knew a little bit more what he was going through. And I think we recognized it more as a disease and that he just needed help. Unfortunately, 4 days after he came back from White Deer Run, he overdosed again. And you're speaking of, how you can kick your kid out of the house. I won't say we kicked him out of the house, but we learned about healthy boundaries and all that. And when he came home, we sat down, had a good talk, and said, this is the way it's going to be. These are our boundaries. This is what we're going to do. We want you to go to outpatient, but if you're going to live here, these are the rules. And the number one rule is no drugs in the house. And that means no drugs in your pockets, no drugs in your body, no drugs whatsoever. And he agreed to it. And I said, if there's drugs in you, you have to leave. I said, we're not kicking you out. That's the last thing we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We want to show him love, compassion. Mm-hmm. But if there's drugs in your house, you have to leave. And when you're clean, you come back. So he was good for 4 days, I'd say.
That we noticed, yeah.
Yeah.
Same old behavioral change, same patterns.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and have a cigarette.
In the garage,
Out in the garage, come back in. And, we knew. We could tell.
Look different. By this time, you're starting to
Right.
develop,
eyes.
to be able to recognize it, yeah.
Sure. So I told him. I said, Paul, what'd you do? What did you take? And he, of course,
nothing.
The lies. No, nothing. I'm fine. I said, you got to leave. And I tell you.
That was awful. That was awful. It was late at night. Well, we found before, when he denied, you went in his room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And found
the little
baggies.
Yeah. And so he said, Paul, you gotta leave. You can't stay. It was a boundary that we agreed on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you.
And
it was cold out.
Extremely difficult for you guys to do.
He had his backpack. He said, okay. And there were, he was not a confrontational. I mean, there is no confrontation. He got it.
He kept, one thing I remember him saying, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I didn't use, but I'll go. So, and that was, I think, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
I imagine so.
The hardest thing.
And he called a friend. called a friend to come and get him, and then that's the other thing. Okay.
And you're worried.
And we're,
is this the right thing? What if something? I mean, I just can't imagine the bouncing back and forth.
Oh yeah.
So you set this boundary. All right, you have to leave, and now you're thinking, what if he goes and hangs out with this? What if he overdoses again? What if he, does this or this happens? And I just can't imagine the ping pong of what if this? Should I have set him, kept him here? It's just a constant.
Yeah.
And, I don't laugh. Obviously, it's a messed up thing,
right.
but it's just like it's insane. It is. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a tough night.
I could feel my heart beating in my throat. Like I could, during this whole thing, I'm like, how are we doing this? And watching him walk down the driveway with his backpack on. Yeah.
One thing we told him, we both said when he walked out the door, Paul, be careful, and we love you, but you come back when you're clean. And I wanted to make sure, we both told him that. We love you. This is not a hatred. This is not of anything but love.
That's huge, yeah.
So.
That's a huge, the I love you thing. I was tormented for years because my brother and I had bunk beds. And I remember what happened with them is my sister was going to college in Phoenix. We had family that's been living in Vegas for 25 plus years. And so my brother flew out to Phoenix and they were driving up to Las Vegas for Thanksgiving in 99. But I remember my brother packing to go visit my sister. And then I was up in the top bunk and looking down at him. And I remember so vividly, I almost told him, all right, I love you, bro. And I never did. And I remember that stuck with me forever. So I think that's such a huge thing, no matter what. Christine would always get mad at me when we would argue or something, and we would leave if we'd be in an argument. Not that we argued that much, but the times we did, I'd be like, I love you. And she's like, why are you telling me you love me right now?
It's the last words, right? I mean,
it's like, just in case anything happens to you.
I know.
Yeah.
But I guess continuing on, he's out of the house after White Deer Run.
Yeah.
4 days later. Where did it kind of go from that point?
The next morning.
After he left.
Yeah, there was a Sunday night. Monday morning, of course, Jackie was at work and I was home, and I'm thinking, I wonder where he is. I wonder where he went. I wonder if he's okay. And I get a phone call, and it's the emergency room at DeGraff Hospital. Mm-hmm. And they asked for me, and we need somebody to come down right away. And the first thing I said is he alive? And they wouldn't say anything. He goes, we need somebody down here right away. And I said, well, what's going on? Is he okay? Is he alive? We just need somebody here. I think, holy shit.
I was at work.
And she's at work. So I called her, and I just, flew down. Luckily, we were close. I went to the hospital. And I think the first thing the doctors were asking me about, organ donation. I said, well, what's going on? Is he alive? And he goes, yeah, but we don't know what happened. They found him on a kitchen floor of somebody's house. We don't know if there's been any brain damage. We don't know how long he's been without oxygen. I mean, the whole thing. So he was in rough shape. He was in ICU for 4 days, on a ventilator, the whole thing. And then, talk about guilt. We send him out on the street, and we're thinking, I hope nothing happens. Well, the worst thing in the world happens. He overdoses, and we don't know if he's going to live. But he pulled through.
He pulled through that.
He pulled through, yeah. Thankfully.
Thank God, yeah.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, that was really rough. It was rough.
It's tough to think back at these times.
And you relive them like it just happened. The emotions, the feelings, the memories, the sounds, the smells, everything.
Yep.
It's just, it sticks with you, everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, it's just there. I mean, it's continuous. I mean, I remember I can still hear the side door squeaking the night. I found out about my brother and sister. That's what woke me up. The sound of what I came to find out was deep weeping, but at first I missed, coming out of a sleep, thought it was laughter, and like just all those things with when something, is traumatic and as tough as that happens, it's just you constantly relive it.
It stays with you forever. It really does. It really does.
Yeah, it was almost 2 years, since that happened, and it's
Yeah.
still like it was yesterday. Still.
Yeah, it's been what am I going on? 99. I'll go pushing 20 years with my brother and sister.
Wow.
And I tell people, all the time, it doesn't. You have to learn how to have joy while that pain is still there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure that out somehow, and I mean that's one of the most difficult things to do.
To figure out how to focus on
how to be happy
the
with the
blessings
pain.
and you're right.
Yeah, that's super difficult.
Was it just you, your sister, and then you had?
There's 4 of us all
4 of
together.
us?
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
Oh,
So I slept.
wow,
Yeah, obviously my baby sister still around.
Yeah.
Thank God, because she was an accident. My parents always say so. So my parents always said. I think my mom always talks about only wanting 2 kids, and my dad wanted a third, which was me, and then Megan was an accident. They always tell her.
I used to get that a lot too, because there's 18 years between my brother and I.
Oh yeah, that's a big
we
sign.
found you on the corner, in a little box. Okay. Yeah.
So he was in there for 4 days.
Yeah.
And I see you. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Through my birthday.
Yeah.
Through my birthday. I just got the card. Yes. His sister went down to the gift store to get a card to bring to him to fill out to give to me, that's all it was all about. So, but I was just looking at that card the other day, and because he said in there, "Sorry, it has to be like this." But I'm glad I could be here for another one to enjoy your birthday with you, for another birthday. So, yeah, he pulled through that. He was in the emergency room. I remember standing, I just, like you said, just, the tubes, the brown crap, and just holding his hand, talking to him the whole time. And then he started, squeezing, and we both thought, wow, this was bad enough. This whole thing, this'll be maybe the turning point to get him more focused on his recovery.
Yeah.
But it's a tough road.
Yeah, I don't know whether it did give him enough of a jolt or a scare. I know when he was writing things on a clipboard because he couldn't talk with the tubes, of course, and they were going to take. Well, first off, the other things that really shake me is he would write, "Am I going to be okay?" He wrote something else. Oh, he wrote, "Where am I? What happened?" I mean, he had no clue. They were going to take the breathing tube out, and he said, "I'm scared." It was, "What if I can't breathe?" And I think it really shook him. He was afraid when they took the tube out. So I'm thinking, well, hopefully this scares you enough that maybe it'll jolt something or whatever. And that was, from then on, it was like a change in him, I think. He came out of the hospital like nothing happened. He was fine, health-wise.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Little pneumonia, but that was treated.
But there's no brain damage.
No.
All that.
No,
Awesome.
that's no loss of anything. So we're thankful for that. He had to do some community service. So he finally started doing that. And within 2 days, we got a call from Horizon, from his counselor, saying, we can get him in. We got a bed.
Was this at now Terrace House or the right
Terrace
out in
House.
San?
Terrace
So he
Terrace
started
House.
at Terrace
Because
House.
actually
okay.
being at White Deer Run, he was there for 28 days and another week here and there. So he had to start over again at Horizon with the counselor. When he came home from White Deer Run, he went in for an assessment, and so he was assigned a counselor. And she called and said, "I think I can get him into Terrace House." So I had to go find him. He was out doing community service in the city. Tracked him down, got him, and said, "Let's go." We went in and talked. Jackie met us there at the office, remember? And I'm thinking, good, this is what we wanted, long term. And this is probably around 11.
So the plan was Terrace House out to Sanborn and all that. Okay.
That was our plan. I don't necessarily know if that was his
plan.
But he went along. Well, okay, yeah, let's go see. And he was miserable. He's just.
At
but
first.
that's whatever. So he said, "Yeah." I said, "Paul, it's your decision. I mean, we're not making this. This is your decision. I think it's a good a good opportunity. And so he's like, yeah, all right.
Yes, I'm sitting across from going, doing the positive nodding.
Like it's going to help make his mind up. So, and I don't know what day of the week it was. I think it was a
Tuesday or something.
Tuesday, yeah. And all right, he goes, so, well, maybe Friday or... His counselor goes, how about 5 o'clock? And,
His
right away he's
face.
like, oh, no. But he went. We got him down there and he went. The best move we'd made up to that point. That we took him into Terrace House, detox, went through the program there.
Went upstairs, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Went upstairs after, 3 days or something, 2 3 days. And then... we were in contact with him, I think, after it was like a week blackout period. I think he called before that. And it was like a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, his head was a lot clearer. He was, but he says, yeah, things are good. Things are going good. They're talking about going out to the village, and, he asked us to bring him some stuff. And, yeah, it was just a real good experience. And we went down, the family groups there before visiting. I don't know.
Like,
what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I say maybe 3 weeks. He called.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm going out to the village tomorrow. I'm like, what?
After about 3 weeks at
Yeah.
Terrace House, okay.
I says, wow, and he says, yeah. He goes, looking forward to it now. So he did. He went out there, and we wanted him to go to Freedom Village, which was for veterans.
So how did he end up at regular?
Because that's where he wanted.
He wanted.
That's
to
where
be
he
there.
wanted to go,
He wanted
okay.
to be there. Yeah.
Freedom Village is, just male. Well, at the time, was male only veterans, and he didn't want to go with just men. No, I don't want to do that.
Oh, you wanted to go in the mix,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I
Yeah.
forgot Freedom is all
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, that's how we got out to the village then, and I think he flourished out there. He did real well. And in the meantime, we had gotten him more involved with Save the Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing like educational classes for family groups, for families, parents, and all, learning about boundaries, all that. We went to family support meetings with Colleen Babcock through Horizon. We went to our Narana group. I mean, we were
busy.
You
I
guys
think we
were
were going to
doing
more
that.
meetings than he was.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good. He worked on his recovery, and we worked on ours. And it was a good mix. I think it really was.
I think that's a necessity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
that
if
mix
anything,
is. Yeah.
families, getting involved, but educating themselves too.
Oh my gosh,
key.
that's so big.
Yeah.
I think that's so big because you need. I mean, they have that it's another kind of cliche saying, but that saying of you don't ever have to pick up a drug in your entire life to have it totally flip your world upside down is such a true statement.
Yep.
Because you guys are going through it just as much as he is.
Yeah.
My parents, my sister, girlfriend, family member, they were all going through it too, because they all had that psychological warfare going on. Do I kick him out? What do I do? How am I supposed to handle this? How am I supposed to react to this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I help him, support him, but not enable him at the same time? And all these things are just the what ifs, the what should I do's, and to be able to educate yourself, I think, as a parent or family, whatever it is so huge.
It's huge.
To have that mix. And it's awesome that Horizons, I think, did a great job of offering. I was always just dumbfounded by the amount of people parents and that didn't show up.
Yeah.
It's kind of
lots
sad.
of times.
It makes you feel bad. He had met someone out at Horizon or Terrace House.
The Terrace House.
Yeah, that kind of didn't maybe.
He had no family here.
Not really any family around here. So I remember when we first brought stuff down there. Paul told us, okay, Jolly Ranchers.
All the hard cane,
all,
nothing chewy.
The shower shoes, all that, and could you also just double up on that and bring some, bring extra down, because that's what he was always focused on, helping
other people.
helping. So much so that I think you need to, I wanted him to really work, or he needed to work on himself.
You got to be more selfish.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. So. I don't know where I was going with that either, man. I'm bad.
You just ramble and get lost.
That's what happens. I'm old. I'm getting old. But
No, but being at Terrace House and just bringing them all the stuff and basically, I mean, what we were talking about is educating yourselves and just being and participating and being involved.
And those that didn't have maybe, family members that were as involved. It's just so important.
What I caught myself thinking a lot is, how many of these people that don't have anybody around, I remember thinking, how many times have they put their family through this? I often wonder where is the family's breaking point where they're just like, I'm done.
Right.
Like, you've done this 6 times. Like, why is this going to be any different? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I just wrote down here because I wanted to bring it up. Like, what would you guys say to a family that because you almost start getting a sense of this hopelessness. Because obviously Paul was through a few rehabs, and when it becomes, continuous cycle of, all right, you're in this rehab again, and people just want to just stop. Like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what would you guys say? I mean, not that there's, again, any right answer or correct answer, but I'm just out of curiosity, more so to pick your brain.
My opinion, my first thing that comes to my mind is don't stop. Maybe look into self-care for yourself. Call a counselor. Reach out. There's resources out there. Mm-hmm. When you've reached the end of that frustration point, get help for yourself and reach out and try to get help. To keep focusing on, this is a disease. This is not your son, your daughter. You're talking. These are the drugs. I know it's easy to sit back and maybe say that because when you're going through it, like you said, it just beats you down. But just never give up. I mean,
yeah. Sometimes I look at it as what we've been through. Paul was taking pills for quite a few years. We really didn't know, but we weren't heavily involved with this except from when he came home that day before New Year's, and he passed away 9 months later. Relatively short period of time that we were really involved heavily. And I look at some parents that talk about their kids that 10 years, 15 years they've been going through this. And it's hard to imagine that you have to come to a breaking point. But if Paul was a diabetic, I wouldn't stop getting him insulin. If he had cancer, I wouldn't stop, trying to get him into chemo or anything.
Whatever,
like that.
Treatment, yeah.
It's a disease. You can't give up on your kids.
Right.
And I cannot imagine living with somebody that's even in active addiction for 10 years. Or somebody who's in recovery for that long, and as a parent, you worry every single day. I'd put up with that worry for 10 years rather than go through what we go through now. Mm-hmm. If you want to compare things, I'd love to worry every day because I know he's here at least. So, yeah, I just never give up on your kids. Never.
I think we can have a mic drop on that one, Paul.
Boom.
We got to go now.
That's it. All right, we're done.
I know.
Cut it off. No, I think that's, that's an awesome point.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any arguing with that. I mean, I guess we honestly probably could wrap some things up here shortly, but there's a few things kind of getting to the end of Paul's story. And was it from Horizon Village that he came to he went to the Oxford House?
Yes. From
Horizon Village.
Yeah.
Right.
And then where did he go from there? That was the one in Lovejoy.
He went into Lovejoy. Did good. I mean, went to meetings. He tried to do 90 and 90. I don't know if he did exactly 90, but he pushed for it. He liked going to the rooms. He liked doing that.
The Hope Center.
Did he do NA or AA more? Or
NA.
NA more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to give him a plug, I guess. Hope Center out on Maple.
The Hope Center, yep.
He really liked going there. He had a great sponsor. Really helped him. And met a lot of good people who we still keep in contact with some of them. Ran into some problems at the Lovejoy House. Just issues, things, financial stuff. So he left there, came home for a little while, and then got into the Oxford House on South Park.
The one on South Park,
yeah.
Okay.
And, I had some friends that were there, and then they moved on. They moved out, on their own, and I think we can look back now and say, we could see things were kind of slipping. He wasn't himself. There were signs that he wasn't happy.
Just subtle, like personality changes or behaviors?
I think personality changes, kind of.
Yeah, like the week before Paul passed away, we went to a counseling session, the three of us. And he even said in that session that he was feeling kind of flat, like he needed
some like just motivation or some sort.
Yeah. And I know Paul, he was very cautious. He didn't want to worry me. And I know there were...
He's always, don't tell Mom. I don't want her to worry. That's what he always tells me.
So I know sometimes, he would say things to make me feel good. I just know, and I told him that too. That wasn't necessary. But I could just tell, he just brought up in that session, there's a term for it, his counselor, then the cloud, pink...
the pink cloud.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of flat, I guess, kind of needed something else. So he did mention that, but he said he was going to try to work on it, whatever. We kind of walked out of there. I felt pretty good when we walked out of there. And I remember him walking down the hall, and I remember him saying to me, "So, are you okay now, Mom? Are you, like, you feel okay?" And he was just, I think, needed something different. And the switching of going from Lovejoy to South Park, I think, was a downer for him, somewhat. And then when some of his close friends moved out, he was trying, but I think that maybe played into it a little bit.
You just get lonely and isolated. And
yeah, which those are the red flags, too.
Those are huge, yeah.
That's another thing I wanted to mention, too, is just always having that plan. So coming out of rehab, making sure that, okay, what's the next step? What's the plan? My opinion is it's important
huge.
to have that plan, because we kind of were leaning, before he got out of Horizon, we were leaning towards, or kind of talking about, how about a halfway house versus going right into the Oxford house. But he really, he's pretty positive about, wanted to really get into the Oxford house, and of course it was his decision, so.
Yeah, there was another difficult thing. We had thoughts of what we wanted him to do or what we thought would be best for him, but he wasn't a 16-year-old kid, and ultimately we talked things over, and he was always good with that. We discussed things, and we gave him our thoughts and opinions, but it ultimately was his decision, what he wanted to do.
The choice. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, I think, as a parent to think of your kids as adults. You're 30 years old, but no. Let me, I'll take care of this, and we'll put you here. We can get, and it was hard to step back and say, you do it.
You make the decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is tough, letting your kids grow up.
Yeah, it is.
And so from there, obviously, we know kind of what happened at the end of that.
Yeah, in South Park.
But to wrap things up, this is what I wanted to ask you guys. Kind of what I said in the beginning about how when somebody goes through something, painful and tragic, and people just say just stupid things to you. I think you guys are doing amazing what you do, just being able to come here with the courage and to share and to talk about Paul and to help other people. What would you guys say to everybody else, who's lost a loved one, not even just a child, but a loved one to addiction? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This is the thing where you get those TV interviews.
Yep. The good thing is you can say, and you won't look like, I'll edit that out, all the ums you want. It'll sound like you came up with it right away.
I think you can't just sit at home and curl up in a ball, and as difficult as it is to process what happened. We've gotten involved in a parent group, and it really helps to be with other parents who've gone through this. Just nothing formal, no counselor, just to sit and talk. Just to be with people that have something in common with you. And you get your feelings out, you cry, you laugh. Just try and be with other people that have gone through the same thing. And we've thrown ourselves into trying to help with Save the Michaels, volunteering with them, doing just about anything they ask us to do. And it helps. I'd like to think it helps kids that need to get into treatment. it helps them to know our story and to know Paul's story. And it helps us too. It gives us a purpose.
Probably more so, than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you guys, and that's kind of what I always say to people when they're going through something just that you can't even imagine is I say two things, and one is don't forget to cry. Weep, cry, and do that. And the second thing I always say is while you're crying, do the best you can to lift up your head and learn and grow through whatever experience it is. Because any experience you go through, no matter how dark, how deep, how depressing, how heavy it is, you could learn and grow from it. Mm-hmm. And I think from that, it gives it meaning. It gives pain meaning. And I think that's the only way to do it. What you guys are doing, sharing, helping other people, gives his death meaning and purpose and gives it love. And that's when that joy can exist with that pain. And I think it's beautiful what you guys are doing. And you guys are awesome people. And I'm so thankful you guys came on here and were honest, open, vulnerable. This is I have a feeling this is going to be a good one. So
you're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. Room 9 signing off. Hey guys, it's Sean again. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was truly amazing. It was hard for me to even keep it together at a few points throughout this recording, so I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot from it. Share it with everybody. Get on the website. Talk about it. Let's start getting this message out there to as many people as we can so it can help as many people as possible. So you guys have a great day. Have a great week. Look forward to our next episode, which will be a week from today, which is Monday, February 4th. So look forward to that episode. I believe I'm going to release the one where I sit down with my girlfriend, Christine, who has just been one of the most amazing people in my life. And I'm so thankful that I still have her. And just look forward to that one. So I will be in touch with that. Have a great day, guys. Peace out.